Welcome to this week's In My Mug. We're off to Ethiopia, and we're off to Ethiopia to a farm that I don't know so much about. So, we're going to have something that's slightly different. So as I said to you, this week we're going to be doing something that's just slightly different. We are going to be doing some farm info, but Virtual Steve has got a pretty easy job this week. He's going to be going through a few numbers and a few things of this washing station that we bought this delicious coffee from. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's been bought completely on taste. Not somewhere we've worked before, but maybe sometime in the future I could be able to find something more about them. But what we are going to do is we're going to look at Ethiopian tradition. Now, Ethiopian tradition is throughout the culture huge. I'm showing you a little bit on the screen now of some traditional dancing that happens, and this was in Addis Ababa in a bar, and just, you know, not uncommon to be seen in you know, entertainment places in Ethiopia, and everything has like a ceremony to it or some kind of like meaning to it, and coffee is so important in Ethiopia. Like, everything revolves around coffee. So I'm going to show you some clips now of the Ethiopian coffee ceremony. And the Ethiopian coffee ceremony is where you will take time out of the day. You will take an hour out of the day for coffee. It will normally be the lady of the household that will lead it. And that is a big honour to be able to do the ceremony for everybody. And it's something that, like, people are really, feel strongly about. You will put some grass on the floor. So to make it more softer and comfortable. And then they will take a pan and start roasting the coffee. And the roasting of the coffee will be very basic and rudimentary, but like there's something about ceremony roasted coffee that you completely forgive it and it doesn't matter. They'll then use a big pestle and mortar to grind down the coffee. There's no electric grinder that you go and run it through. While everybody's sitting round and chatting, maybe having, you know, some light snacks, having some conversations, and then the brewing starts. And the brewing is very much boiling water and very rudimentary again, very little measurement. There's no scales, there's no anything like that. Beautiful way of brewing and really, really pretty. Ethiopia itself is a fantastic country. I'm going to show you now a few clips of just some of the things that we've seen in Ethiopia. These images, these videos are courtesy of Joanna, my partner, who we've travelled to Ethiopia a number of times together now, and she takes much better photos and videos of this stuff than I do. But we've pulled them together here just to mix it up a little bit and make you think about Ethiopia and really look at the culture and the history of Ethiopia. So now we're going to go to Virtual Steve, who is going to go through some of the stats and numbers of the farm. As I say, we don't know so much about it, so expect it to be short and sweet. But when we come back, Scandinavia has a few brewing kind of ceremonies of its own, and we're going to take this opportunity to brew this week's coffee in a slightly different way. So don't go anywhere. Thanks, Steve. That sounds really interesting, what you're going to do after me. I might even hang around myself to watch. So this week's coffee comes from Ethiopia, and it comes from the Yirgacheffe region, and it is called Banko Gutiti. It is a washed coffee, and the mill is managed by Alimu Bakatu. It is in the region of Goti Kabale, which is in the Kachera district of Yirgacheffe. Around about 650 farmers deliver to this washing station, with each farmer owning around about 2 hectares of land on average. So very small scale farmers delivering to one central place, which means they don't have to go far to deliver it. It's all people in the local neighbourhood who would take their day's pickings, get it weighed up and be paid. It is a grade 1, and grade 1 is basically the best grade that you can get. It has been certified through the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange's cupping facilities as a grade 1. The altitude of the farmers and the washing station in that region is kind of goes between 1,800 metres above sea level, so 1,900 metres above sea level, to 2,100 metres above sea level. It is, as always with Ethiopia, they are indigenous heirloom varietals, which means people kind of don't know. They've mutated over time into different things, but areas tend to mutate with each other, so you end up with a fairly consistent cup along the way, and that's really what gives Ethiopia its real bang for buck. The harvest there happens between October and February, March, but it can start a little earlier, can carry on a little bit longer, it's it really dependent on the weather conditions that are happening. Gutiti in Kachere is part of the Southern Nations of People region of Ethiopia, and over a number of years the region has developed a reputation for having some of the best coffees. That altitude, with soil, with those heirloom changes that have happened, really do give it a fairly distinctive cup, and we're going to go and find out from Steve how it tastes right now. Okay, so you join me by my campfire. This is called a kulk cafe. This was very traditional brew method in all of Scandinavia. Joanna's told me a story about how her grandparents would always use this. You wouldn't necessarily need to do it on a stove outside. You might use it inside too, but this is probably the more traditional way of doing it. And basically you put the coffee in, you put the water in, 35 grams to 500 ml of water, or 70 grams per litre, and then you would let the coffee boil, and once it boils, that's it, you pour it, it's done. It is not a complicated brewing method, and everything about it screams that the coffee should be fairly awful. It's a fairly coarse grind, kind of a little bit coarser than you would do for a cafetiere even. But in the olden days, again, Joanna was telling me the story that her grandparents would use the same coffee 2 or 3 times, and that was just normal. This one's been going for a little while now, and it's just about boiling. So what I'm going to do is just get my cup and pour it out. Now there is a little filter, which I'll show you in a second, but you still get lots of bits come through, and I'm having lots of bits come through there. So just see on the kettle here, this filter, this does come out, and it does stop some of the parts coming through. But I guess this is kind of what you would call cowboy coffee, you know, that you would set up a campfire and you would just make some coffee and go for it. So let's get into the tasting. Now, I don't understand any of this, because whenever I have the Ethiopian coffee ceremony, whenever I do something like this, they taste really good. And sometimes when I measure and I'm being so precise, and maybe it's the moment, maybe I'm sitting in the beautiful Swedish sun and enjoying myself, but really is good. Flavours that you're looking for in this, it is a classic Ethiopian Yirgacheffe washed. So there's an awful lot of black tea, a little bit of the bergamot flavour, a little bit of like fresh lemon, like real zesty kind of kick to it. Incredibly clean on the palate, like it doesn't sit and linger, it doesn't beat you up. It's very, very delicate, and considering it's been through this boiling method, that delicacy is still there. The hints of floral too, which I'm really, really enjoying. I think this is a fantastic coffee. I'm really pleased that we've had it. It won't be around for long. It was bought as and in my mug, and to have a little bit for the website, because we know how much you've all been missing Ethiopians. We will be getting some Anasora washed and naturals later on in the year, but for now this is kind of like something to whet our appetite and keep us excited about it, and I am excited about it. I think it's fantastic. Listen, thank you for joining me. Sorry it's been a bit of a different one. I hope you've enjoyed it though. I'd love some feedback on what you would like me to do on here, because
I can do what I like, but I'd really like to do what you guys like too. So some comments, some feedback. Thank you. Keep well, keep safe. Don't get too drunk when the pub's open soon. And do remember, life is too short for bad coffee.